Double team. Young got away. Len makes Miami pay. A double on Young.
It's over, and there's nothing Jimmy Butler's sorry ass can do about it.
12 seconds later.
Butler for the tie. Yes! The Butler did it! We're tied in one series.
What happened out there, Trae?
Yeah, honestly, I thought it was over.
Heat fans, I know that we spent a lot of time over the last few seasons making fun of that dirty lollipop, diaper box baby, defensive turnstile, Mario Goomba looking Trae Young. But that boy can hoop. I'm not gonna lie to you. Truthfully, I've always liked Trae. He really earned a lot of my respect in that 2021 playoff run that the Hawks went on. Seeing him really buy into that villain role versus the New York Knicks, I thought was a ton of fun. I mean, in MSG, the crowd was booing. You had the F Trae Young chants, and he absolutely put on a show, and I've really liked Trae Young ever since. And I think that type of villain role would fit in Heat culture well. After all, we know that famous Jimmy Butler comment that he put on Joel Embiid's Instagram where he said, "I know a place where villains are welcome," and Jimmy's right. I think the Miami Heat would gladly accept everything that Trae Young brings to the table just from a character standpoint. And of course, also in that 2021 playoff run, Trae Young had a pretty great Eastern Conference Finals versus the Bucks, averaged like 28 and 7. And he had a couple of plays that I'll never forget. He had a lob off the backboard to John Collins, and then he had another wide open three where he shimmied before cashing the shot. And that type of stuff from Trae Young on that stage, the Eastern Conference Finals, really tells me that he's a big-time player that's not scared of the moment, and that is something that I like to see in players. Now, Trae Young's only made the playoffs 3 times, but he's played pretty well. In his first playoff run in 21, he averaged like 29 and 10, and then in his third playoff run, he only played 1 series versus the Celtics, where he averaged 29 and 10. Now, you compare that with the numbers that Tyler Hero put up versus Celtics, and you can see there's levels to this, right? Really, the only time where Trae Young wasn't great in the playoffs was that 1 series versus the Miami Heat where he was held to 15 points a night.
Trae, how did the Heat defense make it difficult for you to get going?
Old-ass PJ Tucker was clamping my shit. Worst of all, I did a reverse Jonte Porter and bet my overs. I knew I shouldn't have, because OddsJam said it was a bad play, and they are the ultimate ally in data-driven wagering.
Looking to up your game in sports betting? Meet OddsJam, your ultimate ally in the world of data-driven wagering. With over 260 sportsbooks under its belt, OddsJam is the go-to place for savvy bettors. And here's how it works. OddsJam's arbitrage tool scans the market in real time, spotting differences in betting lines across different sportsbooks. This means that you can lock in risk-free profits by betting both sides of the market. But wait, there's more. OddsJam also provides a positive EV calculator to help you optimize your bets and a handy bet tracker to monitor your profits. By using OddsJam, you're not just betting smarter, you're betting more responsibly, leading to long-term profitability. And here's the kicker. They offer a 7-day free trial. Ready to try it out? Use promo code Anthony to get 35% off your first month. Secure your bets with confidence and make informed decisions using OddsJam. Oh, I've been putting way too much time into these videos, man. So make sure y'all like and hit subscribe because I'm grinding to hit 5K by the start of next season. So I do greatly appreciate all the support, and I'm glad that people have been enjoying the videos of late. But in summation, I like Trae Young. I want Trae Young on the Miami Heat. The only problem, though, is his contract, in which next year he will be making $43 million, followed by almost $46 the year after that, and then he has a player option the following season where he'll only be 28 years old, so he is still very young, currently just 25. But in that final season, which who knows if he'll accept that player option, but if he does, it's $48, almost $49 million, which if you look at this, that is substantially higher than what Tyler Hero is getting paid. Tyler Hero is getting paid between $29 million and $33 million over the next few seasons. So Trae Young is literally like 10 to 15 million more. That's a big difference. And of course, since the Heat are so up to that second apron in the salary cap, we essentially have to send out equal money for any contracts that we would be receiving in. The problem is, though, all of Miami's big money, outside of Jimmy and Bam, of course, we don't want to trade those guys, but their big money is tied into their guards. You know, you have Tyler Hero, and then Duncan Robinson also has a big contract, and the same with Terry Rozier. So it is very hard to combine two of those three in a trade for Trae Young, because why would the Atlanta Hawks want two guards from us? You know, just like you could say about any other team. So I knew I had to get creative when I made this deal. So I did make this deal personally. I did not take this from anyone. So that being said, feel free to direct all your hate or appreciation straight at me. But here's the trade. I have the Miami Heat receiving Trae Young, Nikola Vucevic, and Alex Caruso. I have the Atlanta Hawks getting Jaquez Jr. and 3 first-round picks, 2 from Miami and 1 from the Orlando Magic. I have the Chicago Bulls getting Tyler Hero and Joe Ingles, and the Orlando Magic get Terry Rozier and Duncan Robinson. So I'm going to go through and explain why I think each of these teams would say yes, starting with the Miami Heat, who of course get Trae Young. Now, if you're sitting here as a Heat fan and saying, oh, that's a lot of assets for Trae Young, maybe you're right. But here's why I think it's worth the risk. Trae Young has almost always led a top 10 offense. Going back to 2021, the Atlanta Hawks were ranked 9th. The following season, they were 2nd. The year after that, they were 7th. And then last season, they were only ranked 12th. But Trae Young did miss a lot of time due to injury. He only played 54 games. So I think that's the reason why they weren't literally top 10, but they were still top 12, which is pretty good. That being said, though, I don't think there's an injury concern with Trae Young because he did miss less than 10 games the 2 seasons prior. So the Heat need a new identity, and that's what Trae Young brings to the table. The Heat scored under 90 points the final 3 games of the postseason last year. And I don't care if they were missing Jimmy Butler. In the year 2024, you should not be scoring under 90 points ever, let alone 3 straight games in NBA playoffs. That just can't happen. And even when they've had Jimmy, we've seen the offense be way too bogged down way too often in the regular season. They were only ranked 21st in offensive rating. And if you just go to the 4th quarter alone, the Heat were ranked 28th in 4th quarter offense. They were behind teams like the Pistons and the Wizards, and they were just barely above the stinky Portland Trailblazers. We know Trae Young is a bucket. He's a guy that you can give the ball to late in the 4th quarter and say, make a play, get into the paint, get dribble penetration, go up with the floater, hit a deep 3. He's a guy that can score the ball. He could alleviate a lot of pressure off Jimmy Butler, who we know has a tendency to conserve his body in the regular season, to put it nicely. So I think Trae Young is a guy that would allow Jimmy to do that. And on top of all of that, imagine what Trae Young would do for Bam Adebayo's game. Trae Young is the definition of elite when it comes to playmaking, and he's arguably the best in the league at a lob thrower. Imagine what he's going to do with a guy like Bam Adebayo. For obvious reasons, he would truly unlock Bam's full potential, and that's something that I would be really excited to see. Of course, the concern is always going to be his defense, but I would like to believe that in this Heat system, with the culture instilled here, playing under a coach like Eric Spoelstra and the rest of the coaching staff, I'd like to believe that we'd get a Trae Young who is much better on the defensive end than what we've seen. But even if he's not, even if you don't want to make that assumption, what better guys to play alongside than Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo? Now, it will hurt the Heat, likely losing Caleb Martin and potentially Haywood Highsmith because they were so good at perimeter defense, but I do think the Heat will resign DeLon Wright, and I have the Heat getting Alex Caruso in this trade as well. Caruso is likely a rental. He's only getting paid $9 million this season, the last year of his deal, so he'll probably re-up for a lot more money elsewhere next season. But I'm okay with that. I mean, this Heat team is trying to win a championship right now, and that's something that Alex Caruso can help you do. He has done it before. Won a championship back in 2020 with the Lakers. Let's not forget that, even though as Heat fans, we try to sometimes. But he's a guy that has that experience, knows what it takes. He's elite at point of attack defense. He's a dog on that side of the ball. And he shot 40% from 3 last year on almost 5 attempts. So he's a guy that would fit into this offense pretty seamlessly as well. I also have the Heat getting Nikola Vucevic, who has a monster contract, $20 million this season, $21 million next. And Bulls fans don't exactly think he's performed up to that contract. That's why they're kind of eager to let him go. And I get that. His 3-point percentage has dropped a ton. He was only at 29% last season. That's just a few seasons removed from where he shot 40% from 3 in back-to-back seasons. So if Vucevic was to come to the Heat, you'd like to believe he can get closer to that mid-30s, almost 40% shooting from 3, because that would obviously be amazing in this offense. But even if he can't, he still averaged 18 points and 3 assists last year, so he is still very good on the offensive end, and he averaged 10.5 rebounds. He will always be a phenomenal rebounder. Heat fans know that. He's had a couple 20-board games against us, and that is something that the Heat desperately need. I know he can't play defense, and the Heat also need that from the big man position, but how many times did the Heat get out-rebounded last year? It was a ton. Vucevic, I think, would do a great deal in helping us fix that. Now, the Atlanta Hawks, they would get a pretty nice package. I think 3 first-round picks for a guy of Trae Young's caliber is pretty fair. And in addition to that, they also getting Jaime Jaquez Jr., who I really believe after his rookie season has true star potential. To see him be the kind of scorer that he was as a rookie with the kind of moves and the footwork at such a young age, it really is impressive. And for the Hawks, their kind of building blocks right now, is really just Jalen Johnson if you want to go by age. And I do think at 6'9", Jalen Johnson can play next to Jaime Jaquez, and that would be 2 nice pieces for the Hawks going forward, whether they decide to keep DeJounte Murray or not. I do think the fit with Jaime Jaquez is not bad at all. Now, the biggest plus for the Bulls here is they are offloading that huge Vucevic contract. I would have thought that they would have needed to attach a first-round pick to do that, but instead of attaching a first, they're attaching Alex Caruso, so you could say those 2 things kind of cancel out. But the Bulls still are getting some value in return. They're getting Tyler Hero, and especially as a team who all the reports have been they're looking to salary dump Zach LaVine, I think getting in Tyler Hero, who provides a similar role, but at a lot less money, like $15 million less, I think that's something that the Bulls will find pretty positive, and they will be able to open up a lot of salary cap space come next season. And for the Magic, I think this is a no-brainer. I mean, that team we know needs scoring, especially from the guard position. Gary Harris was their starter in the playoffs last year, averaged like 6 points a night. Jalen Suggs, I think, is very good, and he can score the ball, but they rely on him so much defensively. I think he could use another backcourt mate that could really get buckets. And Terry Rozier and Duncan Robinson are 2 very versatile scorers that could essentially fit anywhere. And they're 2 different type of players also, so I think the Magic can use them in different ways. Obviously, Duncan Robinson is elite off the ball, dribble handoffs, flying through screens, catch and shoots. He's become a much better player last year than the years prior, so he can get into the paint. He's very good at finding the big men. We know him and Bam have a special connection. I'd like to believe that Duncan can sort of form a nice, 2-man punch with Paulo Banchero as well, maybe even Franz Wagner. So I do think Duncan certainly has a spot there. And Terry Rozier, obviously, he's a guy that you can say, here's the ball, go get a bucket. And we saw that Magic offense really bogged down in the 4th quarters, and Terry Rozier is a guy that would really help that. But that's all I gotta say for this video. So let me know what you think about this trade. Almost every time I make a trade, 90% of the comments are saying they hate it, but I really think I cooked here. So make sure to leave your comments down below. I'll be reading through every single comment and trying to respond as many as I can. Like the video as well, because that helps the algorithm boost this out to everyone. And hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you are down there, because I'm trying to hit 5K by the time next season starts. I'm now less than 800 away. So it's exciting times, and I greatly appreciate y'all. Also, OzJam is linked down below. Shout out to the sponsor. See y'all next time. Peace out.
Look, pull up in your city tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.